Hey everyone, it's Spidey. It's March 25th, 2017. You're listening to the Sorcerer Weekly podcast. I have two co-hosts today. The first one is Soma.
Hey guys.
The second one is a Zervis lover and Zervis aficionado, Misi Moose.
Hi there.
Misi, tell us a bit about yourself.
Alright, so I'm Missy, and my favourite female character photo will probably be Mavis, and my favourite male character, I'm kind of debated, I'm kind of conflicted about that. Maybe Jill, maybe Natsu, maybe Gildarts. Generally pretty powerful people.
Nice.
Ships I like, probably like Phraxis and Jerza, and despite what Spidey has so kindly pointed out, I'm not exactly a fan of Zervis.
Tell us in 2 words. Tell us your feelings about Zerif. 2 words. I'll give you 3.
Crybaby bitch.
Okay, that was more than 2 words, but I'll allow it.
Crybaby is one word, or hyphenated.
That's fine. I'll allow it. So yes, as you guys have heard, Misi Moose hates Zerif. He hates Zervis even more. But
Right.
we're not just gonna be talking about that this episode. We're gonna talk about the earlier arc, so the introduction arc, and aka the Macau arc, and the Daybreak arc. We're gonna talk about that a bit, the fights, the storytelling in it. We're gonna talk about Lucy, her character, her battles, her growth. We're gonna pitch our ideal movie. We all know someone has horrible ideas, so don't worry about that.
Hey.
And then we're gonna transition into the second half. For those who do read the manga, we're gonna talk about Zervis, Misi's thoughts on Zervis and stuff like that. We're also gonna have this Dragon Slayer debate, and it's basically, without spoilers, it's Dragon Slayers versus Ethnologia, or what do we want? And then we're gonna end the show with the chapter discussion and some of the predictions. So, as always, Doc does a wonderful job helping us set this up and record it and upload to YouTube with the help of Walk. So thanks to them before we start for all the work they do. Without them, the show really wouldn't happen, right? But we're gonna start with the introduction arc, which is chapter 1 and chapter 2, and we're also gonna talk about the Daybreak arc. So Missy, start us off. What do you like about the introduction arc and the Daybreak arc?
What do I like about it? I mean, you know, it's a good introduction to the characters. I don't think there's a whole lot to say about it, seeing as they're pretty short. But yeah, I feel like they're pretty interesting, pretty well done. Anything I thought that was slightly like odd is the changing of how magic is sort of like portrayed throughout the series. So like in the start, they use like the magic circles a lot, whereas that kind of diminishes over the rest of the series, which I find kind of interesting.
What is so there was a few fights in it, right?
Right.
Any fight that stood out to you? Any fight that you liked? Any fight that you disliked?
Oh, I haven't watched it in so long. Yeah, give me some examples. I can't think right
Okay, so we have Daybreak has the two brothers with that fight Natsu, right?
now. Yeah.
And
The guy with the pan.
and then we have the freaking, what's his name? The ugly guy from
Hokey
Bora.
Cavalier.
Bora. That's his name.
Oh, Thor is on it.
We have him talking and fighting Natsu, right? We also have
Yeah.
Duke Everloo fighting Lucy, Virgo, who we later find out is Virgo, right? We
Right.
have her fight Lucy to some extent. So any fight
Right,
of
okay.
those that stood out?
So, yeah, I'd probably say the Two Brothers versus Natsu is a good one, in my opinion. I mean, we'd already kind of like seen Natsu's fighting style and tactics with Bora in the introduction arc, but I thought, you know, it was a pretty good showcase of his ability to fight and, you know, his sort of his advantages in combat, especially obviously with fire, which I found pretty interesting.
Alright.
Yeah. Even outside of that, because one little element that they pick on is when you're fighting the Spanish brothers, they're kind of relying on the kind of trope that wizards aren't very strong physically, and that doesn't work out very well for them because Natsu's just as strong physically as he is with magic. So
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
Natsu a beast. We all know Natsu a beast. Natsu goddamn beast. Um, Soma, what are your thoughts on the arcs?
I like them. They introduce you to the characters, if not the world of Fairy Tail, pretty well. You get a really good vibe of your main cast very quickly, or at least your kind of complete, like really kind of core cast, as in Natsu, Lisa, and Happy. Um, you get a very good feel for who they are as people. They develop like a very interesting, comfortable dynamic very quickly, which is also very good, and they kind of make you want to follow them. The early arcs in general, I think, had this kind of sense of wonder to them and kind of adventure, which I personally found really kind of intoxicating when I first started the series, and it pulled me in really strongly. And that was only kind of amplified when I watched it in the anime, because I watched the anime first. I didn't catch up with the manga until like after the Arashi and Ace arc ended in the anime, and so I saw it animated first. And yeah, just that plus with like the voice acting and the art style and the magic circles and everything, that all really drew me in very strongly. I liked the idea of the magic that they were introducing as well, kind of elemental magic and stuff like that. I thought that was very cool. So overall, yeah, I really enjoyed the first few arcs.
Well, you talked about the Vanish Brothers, right? Any other fight that stood out or something you didn't like about it?
Let's see. There weren't a huge number of fights in the first two arcs. So
Yeah. Oh, we had
it's hard to kind of
Macau versus the Vulcan, right? Or Natsu versus the Vulcan, which I forgot to mention earlier.
Yeah, that was cool. That was funny. I liked that because it was that fight kind of tells you very early on, that Fairy Tail isn't a series that's going to take itself too seriously. Even when it is being serious, there's still going to be time for jokes, which I thought that was really like kind of a big breath of fresh air, because I was coming off the back of series that were quite melodramatic at points, you know.
Any series that comes in mind?
Etc. Well, I was thinking kind of Naruto and stuff like that. Kind of more traditional shonen that are really serious when you know the stakes are high. But with Fairy Tail, there's always, and this is something that's stuck throughout the series, even in kind of the more dark moments in, say, Tartarus, there's always been room for levity, even during kind of serious moments, and I thought that was really kind of appealing.
So for me, what I liked was the first chapter just grabs your attention right away, right? Talking blue cat, pink-haired guy who consumes fire. It was kind of dark too, if you think about it, right? They were kidnapping, Bora was kidnapping the women and like selling them off as slaves.
Yeah, that's like
there were sort of slightly dark undertones, because I mean it's like very infrequent in Fairy Tail that anything, you know, dark or graphic is explicitly mentioned, but you know there were sort of undertones of slightly sort of, you know, disturbing connotations as to what they're going to do with the women, obviously.
Yeah, that was pretty. I was like, damn. Of course, when I was watching it, I was thinking like, that fucking blue cat is talking. It should be like Pokemon with Meowth. Right, but it did have those dark undertones with the slavery aspect of it, which was kind of interesting because it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it did bring up an issue like that. And then in the Daybreak arc, when the guy is literally kidnapped, right, and forced to do the writing a book for Duke Everloo. I was like,
right.
And then he doesn't want to continue, so he chops off his hand. I thought that was pretty brutal.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. We also have. I like Duke Everloo didn't play this stereotypical these pretty women. His idea of beauty was different. I mean, motherfucker was wrong. Dude was straight wrong. But it was nice to see a different, instead of Lucy being what he considered pretty or attractive, he saw it as ugly, which was an interesting thing.
And it also starts off a kind of running trend of like Lucy kind of trying to play up a sex appeal and it kind of falling flat on its face.
Sure, as we saw that in the first episode in the magic shop.
She tried to get a discount for the Plu key, and only got what, like 100 or whatever the currency is.
1,000 jewel, I think it was.
Yeah, 1,000 jewels. So it was fun. Another thing was the Natsu-Bora fight, right? So we start off, Lucy summons Aquarius. Aquarius, you see the tension between Aquarius and Lucy right away. So as the series goes on and Aquarius tends to warm up to Lucy, you see the evolution in that, as opposed to just 0 to 100, as Drake would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then with the Natsu-Bora fight, when you see how much the name of Fairy Tail means to Natsu, with he didn't care that he took his name as Salamander, he cared that he was disrespecting the name of Fairy Tail, right? Which was interesting because we see how much of an importance Fairy Tail the guild plays for Natsu. So that was interesting for me. And then we see him just kick total ass. That was amazing. Like I've said it before, I just love seeing Natsu kick ass because in most of the fights he does struggle. So the fights where he doesn't struggle, it's like, this is fun. This one shot everybody, I don't really care. But that was, like I said, that was fun. When Lucy went out of her way to help Natsu find Macau, it was sweet because you see that she was trying to repay the debt of him bringing her to the guild, and you see them kind of get closer. And contrary to popular belief, the original Team Natsu that isn't just Natsu and Happy, is Natsu, Happy, and Lucy, as we find out, right? So that was fun. You see
them make a team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not
So Damsons in
yet.
Distress who sort of gets developed into less so, which is quite interesting.
So that was amazing. But yeah, those are my thoughts on it. I did enjoy them. I don't know what you guys felt about them overall. I don't know if you enjoyed them more than disliked them.
No,
Go
definitely
ahead.
enjoyed them. It's been a while since I last saw the opening arcs. I think I did a bit of a rewatch of them a few months ago, but it doesn't all. I can't remember all of it because they are quite short, and obviously a whole lot has happened since. But I know that I did enjoy them. They're just a lot of charm in the first couple of arcs. before things are really heavy, and they're just kind of having fun. Like the the Daybreak arc is one of the few arcs that like actually revolves around they're legitimately going on a job, because that kind of gets dropped after
Phantom
from kind
Lord.
of Tenro, from like Phantom Lord Tenro onwards. You don't really see them go on jobs anymore.
No, we
So
don't. It completely dropped it.
They're too busy being superheroes now.
Ain't nothing
So-
wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I mean, superheroes are great, but like, it was nice to see them kind of, be,
Yeah.
themselves for a bit.
I hope we get back to that. I know the movie trailers mention that it's the climax, or that the movie's the beginning of the climax of the series. But I do hope they get back to the more slice of life aspect of it, right? And they go on
Yeah.
jobs, they spend time at the guild or whatever, and just have fun. Because while I do love the series and I do enjoy the shit out of it, and I will always defend it, because I don't understand why people expect Oscar level writing, a Pulitzer Prize winning writing from a cliche series with cliches everywhere. It'd be fun to see them go back to what they were, right? Because so we have Daybreak where they have a job, Galuna, which is kind of a job even though they weren't supposed to take it, Lullaby, which makes them join a job, right? And then the Phantom Lords when they start worrying more about the world around them than they do about their personal self or their personal gains. Because we have after that it just goes to, like you said, a superhero thing where each new boss is more of a fairy tale villain as opposed to a Team Natsu job or villain, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Each of from there on in, from like Phantom Lord onwards, the bosses are more of like a global or like threat to the world around Fairy Tail, as opposed to just being like something that they have to beat in order to get paid.
Yeah. I mean, and I do hope they go back to it. It's unlikely, but I hope they do to some extent. At least in a spin-off. Just give us a spin-off for just a week. A typical week for Team Natsu. That doesn't include saving the world. Right? That'd be great.
True, because as much as, it is obviously very exciting, very interesting to see this kind of stuff, as you say, it's been right from Phantom Lord, right, where there's just constantly this big threat after big threat after big threat, and they never seem to be really making any progress. There's always something else. It would be interesting to sort of see a nice lull, even if, it could be counted as filler or whatever. Some people wouldn't like it, but I think it would be a nice sort of change from the pace and the level of seriousness, because as you said, there's always going to be jokes in Fairy Tail, always going to be lightheartedness, but, it'd be nice to see an underlying sense of sort of security and carefree attitude from the characters.
Absolutely.
Because we got some of that in Tenyo, right? Like the first two episodes. Episode 99 around, I was thinking, was Natsu vs Guild Arts, right? And then before that we have Mara Jane versus Elfin and Evergreen. But once we saw Grimoire Heart there, it kind of took away what Fairy Tail was. Not that the series changed, but like instead of just focusing on the guild, it focused on the world around the guild and the people trying to hurt the guild. So it would have been just great to have it would have been like the Grand Magic Games, right, where the first part of the Grand Magic Games is just about the fights and the guilds and then connecting, instead of just giving us this, oh, you know what, this new enemy appeared, new challenger appears.
Yeah.
You must defeat him.
That's actually that's a really big issue I have with the Grand Magic Games arc, but I'll save that for when we get to it.
Oh, that's gonna be fun. I liked it a lot. Sting.
I like Grand Magic.
For all you Sting fans, he's still a bitch. He got wrecked without Natsu using Flame Lightning Dragon mode. Just saying. So we talked about the Daybreak arc and the introduction arc, right? The Macau arc, or whatever you want to call it. One of the key characters that is in that arc, Lucy, we've seen her growth from the beginning of the series to present day manga. But even if we go from intro to Tartaros with the anime ends, we see her evolution and growth, right? So Missy or someone, whoever wants to go first, just talk about what you've liked. If you like her, you don't have to like her, right? I mean, you'd be fired. I'd fire you on the spot if you didn't like her. But talk about some things that you like, dislike, or something that you've seen from her that you didn't think you would.
You can go first, Summer.
Alright. Okay. So in terms of how I feel about Lucy as a whole, yeah, she's alright. I feel like she is a character who inspires a lot of really strong feelings. Maybe not to the same level as certain others, but she inspires some really strong feelings of like both adoration and like real. I don't want to say hatred, but like
She gets hatred.
dislike.
She gets hatred. She gets hatred.
Couldn't okay with that. And I kind of get why on both sides. For me personally, I think she's perfectly fine as a main character, and that's kind of all I feel about her. I think she's alright for the most part, and sometimes she's a bit annoying. In terms of her as a character, her personality, I can see why she's liked a lot, because she's the kind of person who she's got a kind of character that would appeal to a lot of people. She's bright, she's upbeat, she's optimistic, she's known as being quite intelligent and quite social. She's a kind of, I could imagine a lot of girls and guys kind of seeing a lot of themselves in her, or seeing her as the kind of person they would want to be. So I can see why a lot of people would like her there. So she has kind of a lot of charm to her.
Don't forget, in the words of you, she's thick.
That too.
I'm just quoting you. I'm quoting you.
I'm not gonna lie. She's also got it going on. I can't lie. That's always a bonus.
Nice. What is that?
She's hardly exclusive in terms of fairy tale. You know, it's not like most of the other girls don't exactly have it going on, right?
Homie,
I know, that's real. I don't.
Baby got, in the words of Soma, baby got back. All right. Soma's like, damn,
yeah.
you caught me. Well,
Okay.
I know I completely threw you off. I apologize. Any fights that you enjoy or dislike a lot?
Okay, There's one fight of hers that I found very interesting, but that's a spoiler one, so I'll throw that. I'll ignore that one. In terms of non-spoiler fights, what kind of?
You have up to Tartaros,
okay,
so.
Okay, I'll go with her fight against Flair in the Grand Magic Games.
Oof.
While she ended up losing,
She got cheated, homie. She got cheated.
She got cheated. She lost because Raventail cheated, but because they cheated, because she was doing so well, she was pretty much dominating Flair the whole time, and I think that's the first time we've seen Lucy dominate somebody in a fight before. So that was a really kind of nice culmination to her growth as a wizard up to that point, because it was a very big contrast to her at the beginning of the series, where she could barely really fight, and you see her in Galuna Island, she barely is able to beat Sherry. You see her on Tenro, she almost dies when she's fighting Kane, all of that. Natsu has to
take control of her.
Take control, Lucy Fire, etc., etc. But you see her against Flair, and right from the jump, she is on it. She's using Gemini really well to cast during a Metrio, or she would have anyway. She gets a really good handle on Flair's powers and abilities and how to stop her. She's just generally being very competent, and it's good. Like I say, it's a good contrast to how she was before. So I think that's probably one of my more favourite fights from her in terms of the non-spoiler stuff.
One thing that I want to add to that is you see the closeness she and Natsu have in that fight, because as soon as Natsu sees she's struggling, he scans the area, right, and he sees why she all of a sudden she starts holding back.
Yeah.
And then when he just cuts the hair and he's like, Lucy, you're good now, she's safe, or whatever the phrase was, You see how she became even more confident than she already was, and it just shows that even if you don't consider it romantic, you see their closeness, which I thought was well executed, especially in the Grand Magic games.
Absolutely. Romantic or not, they're definitely partners.
God damn it. Misi, what about you?
So Lucy as a character as a whole, sort of, especially towards the start, she is obviously a very important character. One of the two characters we see the story's perspective from, sort of the two main characters, and I feel she provides a good contrast to Natsu, in that, she's very sort of like, especially towards the start of the series, very grounded almost. She seems to bring a sense of reality to the crazy world of fairy tale, sort of. As much as she's overjoyed that she's managed to join the fairy tale guild, she's like, oh, what have I got myself into? These people are crazy, I can't believe we're doing all this stuff. She's always the one whenever they go on crazy jobs and that kind of thing, she's like, I can't believe this is happening. Whereas everyone else sort of has this, almost oblivious sort of mentality that this is their normal, and that Lucy provides the readers, the readers, the audience's perspective of normal. And then later on in the series, say for example in Tartarus, she is more like she's a more strong character. She's more emotional. She provides a more emotional standpoint rather than sort of grounded, logical standpoint, which I feel is quite interesting. Yeah, that's pretty much it from her character itself.
Going back to the aspect that you said that Lucy brings a more grounded reality as opposed to the fairy tale guild, who's more oblivious. Do you think that's because of her upbringing, right? Because most of these
Possibly.
fairy tale members were raised in the guild. It's basically an orphanage.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then literally, it's like the X-Men orphanage, the school, right? With her, she wasn't raised by her father. She had the maids and the butlers who raised her and cared for her. So you think is that the reason that she's kind of apprehensive and like, well, early on, right? She's like, oh, we shouldn't do this, or maybe we should be more careful about this. Do you think that's the reason why, or do you think that was just her character?
No, yeah, I'd agree that that's probably plays a large part in the reason why. She's clearly lived a very sheltered life, whereas the rest of them have been through many traumas. I feel all the main characters really have some sort of traumatic backstory. And as much as Lucy didn't have a great childhood in terms of her mother and her father as well, she did still live this sheltered, rich girl being waited on, and not even in a sort of, well, the servants, the maids, they weren't exactly slaves to her. She felt like they were her family and her friends. So she always had this support network of people, even if her father and mother weren't around, or her mother literally wasn't around, and her father was
just
hardly emotionally supportive. Yeah. So she always had that support network around her, and as much as the people in Fairy Tail did, they had a support network of rather crazy people, compared to the sheltered life of a rich girl. So yeah, I'd say that is probably her upbringing is largely the reason why she was very apprehensive to start with, in a sort of worrying way.
I'm gonna piggyback off that. That's probably why she has such an ease connecting to the celestial spirits, because of the connection and the familial bond she had with her maids and butlers, because she saw them as equals, even though they were her maids and butlers, right? But you see that connection she has with them in the Loki arc when she's able to summon the entirety of her spirits, which was apparently
yeah, that is something
done
that is emphasized quite a lot compared to other celestial wizards. For example, like Sorano, and she sort of says she treats them as equals, even though really they are at her command in terms of opening the gate and sometimes force closing the gate, and she still treats them as equals, and she upholds these values throughout basically the entire series. And sort of condemns other celestial wizards who don't uphold those values.
Which is even crazier if we think about it, because when Sagittarius helped her out in the Phantom Lord, he wasn't under contract with her, right? He just helped her out. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I don't think if it was Karen, who was Loki's previous Celestial Spirit Wizard, or Angel, aka Sorano, if they would have tried, I don't think they would have succeeded as much, because I think word of mouth, right? celestial spirits see that she treats others fairly, and then they're gonna spread the word, even if they don't have her as a wizard. So I think that was very interesting. And then you see how like you said, she treats them like equals, even with Aquarius, who was never the best terms with her, because Aquarius always saw her as whiny and bratty. She still treats her as an equal, and she cares about her even more than she does the others. Not saying that she doesn't care about the others, but she cares about her more because that was the key her mother gave her. So in a way, it's her last connection to her mother.
True.
Which was like, damn, that's powerful. And when, yeah, we knew that Aquarius didn't die, and I'll get back to you on the fights, but like, we know that Aquarius didn't die in Tartaros, but the significance that the key breaking symbolized was powerful, because it meant Lucy was willing to give up the last memory that she could talk to, right, of her mother.
Yeah.
As opposed to trying to like find another way, she was willing to accept the fact, I'm gonna have to break this key in order to some extent save the guild, which she did, which I thought was amazing. And her develop. If we don't include the anime filler, which was atrocious, the celestial spirit arc, oh my lord, that was atrocious, right? If we don't include that, we see the constant progression and growth in her, where we see her she starts off as a timid, shy girl who's trying to use her sex appeal to like get out of things. She tried that in the Lullaby arc when she's fighting the enemies, in which she later then uses the Lucy Kick, right? But she tries that, and then she grows and is like, okay, I'll fight. Okay, we're good, we'll do this. She's always willing to communicate and talk to the guild and help them out. And she forms she's Natsu's the heart of the guild, but she's kind of the soul, right? So you can't have one without the other, because they symbolize so much what fairy tale is meant to be.
Which is strange, since Lucy's just joined at the beginning of the series.
Yeah, exactly. It's really strange, right? Because she joins early on, but then she somehow becomes that soul aspect of it, and you're like, you're it's either you're impressed or you find it annoying. I'm more impressed. I'm more impressed at the fact that she's able to do that, given the closeness everybody around her has, right? And then she's able to convince the Celestial Spirit King to give her the key of Loki, which is even more insane. Because first of all, like, this guy is the king or the god, the Celestial Spirit King. He's the ruler of the Celestial Spirits, and this girl who's relatively unknown in the wizarding world, at least. She's known on the other aspects because of her father, right? Finds a way to have him appear to her, and she demands that he forgive Loki. That was some powerful stuff. Just overall, I've always said it, where I think her growth and Wendy's growth have been by far the best, right? Because we have a start point for them, and you constantly see every arc, you constantly see them evolve and grow and mature. You can't say the same for Natsu or Gray, or Urza to some extent, because you see them regress in some aspects, but both Wendy and Lucy always progress, move forward. Even with, this isn't really a spoiler, but in the series 3, there's gonna be it's either gonna be the first or the second episode where Natsu wants to fight someone, right? I'm pretty sure you guys remember this. I think it's chapter 420, where Natsu wants to fight someone, and Lucy tells him, I know I can't beat you if you go all out, but I'm willing to fight you. That literally shows her growth, because as we know, she tried to use sex appeal to get away from fighting. Now she's willing to fight Natsu, even though she acknowledges that she won't beat him. I think that you see that growth, which is amazing. So, let me see. I know I went on I took over your slot.
That's okay, don't worry. Makes a good point there.
Any favorite fight or least favorite fight of Lucia?
Well, so you mentioned Sherry versus Lucy and how she just managed to barely beat her. Like Lucy managed to barely beat Sherry, and I found that a kind of interesting fight because we had seen this strong closeness between her and her spirits. Especially Taurus being quite attached to Lucy, and it was an
For all the
interesting
wrong
sort of.
reasons.
I mean, Soma
Exactly.
is not the wrong reason.
All the right reasons.
I'm sure you can
depending on your taste.
sympathise though, Summer, right?
Keep going.
Someone was like, I'd like to use my Fifth Amendment right. That means he doesn't want to admit that he's liking that. Go ahead.
So it was interesting from a sort of from Lucy's emotional point of view to see how she reacts when her spirits aren't when Taurus isn't responding and Taurus isn't being as faithful to her as he always is, even though you can see he is he's trying. I don't know, I thought it was interesting from a sort of from an emotional aspect of it. Maybe the fight itself in terms of the combat wasn't fantastic, but I was interested nonetheless.
One thing I loved, well, you already mentioned, someone already mentioned the Lucy fight against Flare. I loved her the entirety of her character in the Grand Magic Games. Right? We won't talk about the fights, but when Future Lucy dies, I still count Future Lucy as Lucy. Thought that was a powerful moment. Thought that was, oh my lord, that was powerful as hell. Because we see the closeness that Natsu has with this person, right? It may be Future Lucy for us, right? She may have the title Future Lucy, but for Natsu and Happy, it's still Lucy, right?
Yeah, Lucy.
Lucy is Lucy no matter what. Oh damn, that shit was feels. I saw that in the anime, I was like, oof, damn. But you see the closeness they have and the anger in Natsu's face when she dies. And for people to question whether Natsu has any romantic interest in her, I think it's kind of absurd after that, because just because he's not Ichiya thirsty, right, doesn't mean he's not interested in the girl. Because Ichiya's constantly throwing himself at Urza, right? But Natsu isn't constantly throwing himself at Lucy. But you see the level of commitment and care he has for her. And when he's like, I'm gonna defeat you because you took something precious from me, I thought that was powerful. I also thought it was powerful when she convinced Yukino to help her close the Eclipse Gate. And they try to destroy the gate with their spirits, and she used all 9 of hers at once. I thought that was crazy. I was like, damn, Yukino here struggling with 3, and homegirl Lucy be having 9 of them, and she keeping up, and she alright. I was like, damn, right? I thought that was powerful. I just, her entire character in the Grand Magic Games I thought it was amazing. And I think I'm kind of tangenting to Nalu. I think it kind of built it up even more, because Natsu loves to fight. We know this, right? Natsu was willing to give up his spot in the Grand Magic Games the final day to go save Lucy. I mean, come on. There, you can't just say he just likes her as a friend. There's something there.
I mean,
you say that as much as. Oh, sorry, go somewhere.
I was just gonna say, in fairness, they are teammates. If he chose to fight for himself in like the tournament over saving her, he looked pretty bad.
There was 4 other people that went. Natsu specifically said Happy specifically mentioned that Natsu was the one with the plan who wanted to go save Lucy. Come on.
I get it, but the thing is,
and then we have the line, you took something precious from me. Bruh, come on.
No, that line, that's fine. That line is absolutely fair. The thing is, and I know this is like a kind of a common line that people use, but if Urza was the one who was kidnapped, I could imagine Natsu doing the same thing.
We've had this discussion before. The only time he did that with Urza was with Jalal. After that, let me finish. I will give you your time.
Alright.
We're getting to the debate before we even have the debate section. That's good. Natsu has had opportunities to help other people, right? But he's always decided to help Lucy first. And you could say, oh, well, you know what they've been for. He barely knows her for like a year or two. He's choosing to help her over everybody else in the guild. He's constantly reminding her that she's strong, right? That she's powerful. That when the time skip happens, the first one, and the two girls, I guess that was throwback to Everlu because the girls were ugly and looked like the girls in Duke Everlu, and they were talking about how they wanted their father dead. What's the thing Natsu did? He turned around and told him, shut the hell up. Be like, y'all gotta shut the hell up. I mean, you can't just say this homie don't have feelings. Just because he ain't Ichiya thirsty, you can't say he don't have feelings for her. I think the Grand Magic Games, he loves to fight. Absolutely loves to fight. You saw the smile he had on his face when he was fighting Sting and Rogue? He could have fought Sting and Rogue again in the final day. You telling me a guy would choose a partner over that? Unless the partner, he like her a lot or like him a lot? You ain't doing that.
Well, that's my thing, is that I feel like if he had chose to fight over saving his partner, like literally a member of his team, he would have looked pretty bad. Like, I could imagine, say, we got, no, that's not a good example, because they actually are romantically inclined towards, I was going to use Shadowgear as an example, but Jet and Joy actually are in love with Abby.
They have as much chance as Ichiya with Erza. They have as much chance as Ichiya with Erza.
I feel bad for those two.
Knowing Hero, come on.
Don't you dare. Don't even put that into the don't even put that into the universe.
Hashtag share the love with Levy.
Oh my lord.
Doc, we love you.
I didn't even remember what point I was trying to
Doc,
make
we
now.
love you. Doc, we love you. Hashtag Joy and Jet share the love with Levy.
You know somebody's drawn that. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure you researched it, right?
Yeah, he sounded awfully confident in that.
I'm pretty sure someone's drawn
mean-
that. I wonder why you say that, someone.
I mean, it's just one of the rules of the internet, isn't that?
True.
Anyway, I've actually completely forgotten what my point was, so we'll move on.
Well, I was just kind of building it by saying, you know, as much as, yeah, he's gone to go save Lucy, I would kind of agree with Soma in that he would look pretty bad if he chose to just to fight for his own, you know, for his own self-interest, for his own enjoyment.
But he
rather
wasn't
than
fighting
for
for his own self.
No, let me.
Okay,
You
hold
said
on.
let me finish. I'm saying let me finish.
Okay, that's fine. My bad, girl.
Right. So, say you know, I say it was Urza, say you know the usual line. Yeah, he would have done the same thing. I'm almost definite in that. But you said that he chose to save Lucy over everyone else, and I don't know how true that is. Say, for example, Urza and Lucy were both in different places, both in really difficult trouble, right? I don't think he would have made a split decision just to go, okay, I'll go save Lucy. Like, as much as I feel like he cares about Lucy a lot, like, he would probably do something to make sure they were both safe. He would never choose Lucy, like, straight up over someone else and put that other person in danger. So I don't know if it's accurate to say that he's protecting Lucy over everyone else in the guild. However, in the fight with Sting and Rogue, he does knock Gargiel and put him in a position of danger. So, I mean, I guess there's that counter argument.
That was funny. And
That
actually,
was
to
pretty
go
funny.
and to hop on to your mentioning the Sting and Rogue fight, I want to say now, I don't think that. I'm not going to say that I don't think Nazi has feelings for Lucy, because I think I've said this before. I'm pretty certain Nalu's going to happen. So that kind of requires Nazi to have feelings for Lucy at some point. I don't know when. I don't know if it's already happened. It's kind of up to Hero, or kind of up to the audience to decide for themselves as to when it happens. But I think the Nazi versus the Twin Dragons fight, and I mentioned this when I mentioned this fight last week or last time, is that a big part of it is that Nazi's fighting specifically for Lucy's honor, which he mentions, he implies it with that whole line about fighting for his, using the power that he has to protect the
to
friends
fight
that
for his friend.
Sting and Rogue
Yes.
laughed at. And I think that pretty clearly.
So can I jump
I think
in?
whether he knows it or not.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
kind of-
you're
Okay, you can. First of all, you said he's fighting for himself. You said he's I know it's the 40-minute mark and we haven't gotten the ideal movie part, but you said he's fighting for himself. You see, that is a load of crap because he's fighting for Fairy Tail. He's fighting to make him #1. He's fighting so people could remember who they were. He's not fighting for himself. He's fighting for the. He said it in the Sting and Rogue fight, right? Where he's fighting for everybody who believed in. Oh, well, he did it in a chariot fight when they were in a moving train, and episode 161 if I'm not mistaken. Where he talks about how he's doing it for them because they believed in them. They kept looking and stuff. But he's not fighting for his own personal gain. He's fighting for them. He chose to save Lucy, who was just arrested, may I add. Just arrested. Nothing had happened to her. She was just arrested. He chose to go save her, or rescue her, instead of fighting for the honor of the guild. And we know...
And I still think he'd have done that for Urza.
I mean, because you probably should Urza and Natsu.
What? Hello?
Hello? Is it me?
No, that is a valid point about him not fighting just for himself. Yeah, that's
I'd agree with that, yeah.
So I mean,
okay,
we know how much
we
know how much he loves Fairy Tail. For fuck's sake, he says it every time. It's his family. He chose one person over his family. Just throwing that out there. So we're gonna. Do you guys have movie ideas, or you guys want to save that for next week?
I think that's run out. What, 45 minutes? We can save it for next week. Because we've done.
I mean,
this went on for quite a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we had a debate before we were supposed to have the debate. All right, so just for next week, I do apologize. We said we were gonna do an ideal movie. It gives us more time to collect our thoughts on what we want the storyline to be, plot points, maybe characters we want to see in it. So next week, tune in and you'll hear our pitch. We'll start off with it, and then we'll go to the. Who are we gonna talk about next week? What character? We've talked about Natsu. We've talked about Lucy. We talked about Gray. Want to talk about Juvia? You don't want to talk about.
Well, Urza seems like the logical.
Yeah, Urza seems like the most logical one. Yeah.
I guess.
And I want to make sure, like, I want to make sure we don't have Shadow on that one.
I think Shadow should join after we have the discussion, because we already know he hates her with a passion, and we're not trying to alienate any fans unless you hashtag Jet Enjoy Share the Love. So we're gonna move on to the mangas section of it. So as I said before, we have two sections. We have the non-spoiler filled portion of the podcast. We have the spoiler filled portion. We're gonna talk about spoilers now, so anything manga related, which is chapter 420 to 527. And that is your fair warning. I'm glad you guys continue to listen. So we're gonna start off. Misi, go wild. Yes. Don't swear a lot. Don't do what I do and swear a lot, because we don't need to do swear a lot. But right. I do want you to just unleash on Zervis, on Zeref, on Mavis having a kid, on Zeref getting it in. Go wild.
Jeez, please don't.
Go wild.
Right. So in terms of generally, to be perfectly honest, I was okay with Zervis in Tenro, not Tenro, sorry, Zero. So I thought that was kind of cool. I thought it wasn't too bad. And then when I read the manga, and I sort of went, huh? The first time I read, chapter 450 and 451.
I like how you remember the chapters. I love how you remember.
I know the chapters.
They're like D-Day.
Yeah, it's like pretty much. It's like a few traumatic chapters I remember. 508. So right. So chapters 450 and 451. I read them and thought, what? And then I read them again and I still thought, what? And then the more I looked at them, the more I realized how kind of fucked up those chapters were, and how abusive he is, basically. And, the fact that he smirks after she runs away crying, he's happy about the fact that now he knows that she's got this curse and she's going to live with the horrible existence that he is. He's happy about that because he thinks, oh, I'm gonna benefit off of her suffering, because I'll get to spend time with her even though she's completely miserable. So that was slightly odd.
Hold on. Tell him about that theory we had. The one I talked about. I'm gonna shamelessly plug my thread. The people versus Zeref, right? Or we talk about why he did that. You want to talk about that?
I've honestly lost my train of thought in terms of that.
Because remember, he intentionally did it to, well, like you said, because he don't want to be longer.
Yeah, basically because he didn't want to be lonely, and sort of my train of thought in terms of that was that, there was, so she got the curse, and I can't remember the exact timings anymore, but, there was she got the curse, she hadn't figured it out just because she used incomplete law. And then there was the second trade war, right? And so that had sort of, that it had been explained, saying, that suppresses the curse, blah blah blah. And then about 6 years passed, I think, when nothing happened, and she didn't have any side effects other than the non-aging of this curse. No one died, no one happened, like everything was fine. And then she meets Zareth again. Zareth tells her about the curse, and suddenly, in the same chapter, I believe.
I think so.
She goes to the guild, and Yuri's wife dies. It's not very clear as to whether that was a direct result of Moma's, but she seems to think that it was, seeing how traumatized and how she runs away. And then we see explicitly that stuff starts to die. It's said, it's shown, the death waves coming out of her. It said she's killed countless people. Okay, so I find this very suspicious that 6 years passes with nothing happening, and as soon as he tells her, then all shit starts going down, basically. So it seems that he knows that, by her having knowledge of this curse, it's starting to take effect, and he did that in order to be closer to her, despite, the suffering she'll have to go through.
So he didn't care about her feelings, he just wanted her to be with him.
Essentially, no, he didn't care about her, he just wanted a companion, someone to talk to, someone to be with, to satisfy his own loneliness and his own desires, basically.
It's okay. It's okay. You're in a safe space. Zareth can't hurt you no more.
So moving on from generally moving more specifically. So the recent few chapters have been interesting, to say the least. Basically.
Hashtag he is the father. Hashtag he is the father.
Ever since 508 until a few chapters ago, I had been a complete denier. It's not about virginity. It's not about that. It can't be. There was no way. When would she have even done that? Who? Why? It makes no sense. Like nothing adds up there. How's the chapters gone on?
Hold on. Just so the listeners know, me and Misi would frequently message, right? He'd rant, like full on rant.
Yeah.
Like he's tame right now. Right? He's full on rant. This is a load of bleep, bleep, bleep. What the bleep? It was glorious in my opinion, but
not proud of it. But
it was damn. Oof. And so just go ahead and continue.
So as these chapters have gone on, and we've had more explicit evidence. Let's say, for example, when Pret mentioned, when she was in the Lacrima, she said there's life inside of her body. I thought, okay, I can't come up with anything that explains that other than the unfortunate what's likely the reality. Yeah, pretty much.
So someone's trying to die right now.
Least favorite mod.
Oh my god. Hashtag Zareth DNA.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh dear.
You know what? A popular fan theory is that while they were kissing in chapter 450?
451, I'm pretty sure.
It doesn't. One of those that they were nude and doing it while they were kissing.
I would explain the silhouettes, to be fair.
Yeah. I was actually considering that, and considering the fan theory, and I was just like, He
went in. He came. He saw. He conquered.
What note?
Right. And then it just went. It just, I don't need to be.
He killed it, literally.
Damn. His game was so on point, he killed it. Ooh, damn, that's it. Kendrick Lamar got a new single title. Oh my god.
I'm laughing, but I'm dying inside.
Oh, I know. That's the funny part.
Yeah, maybe just died outside.
What did you feel about August being her kid?
Right, so this is something I don't understand. I don't exactly, if we accept and move on from the fact that they had sex, right? So say that is what happened.
It did happen.
In any way.
It did happen.
Right, okay. So I have no problem with August being her kid, except for, when Pret realized that there was life inside of her body, and he said, "All right, I need to extract this." How did he go about extracting that? Like, he didn't take it out of the lacrima. because we would have seen something, right? We would have seen
I don't think
marks where he would have taken out.
Mashimo would have shown
Not
us.
physically anyway.
Oh, okay.
Not physically. We would have seen on the lacrima, after that's happened, there would be a crack or something. It wouldn't make any sense for him to just, cut the lacrima open and take her out, right? Seeing as he felt she needed to be put in there in order to stay, sort of alive, in inverted commas. So, how exactly does he do that? Baby extraction magic? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, Hiro hasn't explained it, and I don't know if he ever will explain it, because there's no logical, real explanation, in my opinion. Like, I don't know how you get around that.
Hashtag C-section magic. There you go. There you go.
It is said that Pratt knows a lot of different types of magic, so...
He does, yeah.
Including emergency cesarean. Okay. That is awfully specific.
The weird thing is, he would have seen her. Well, he's already seen her naked, right? I wonder who's seen her more naked, Zeref or Hades? That'd be an interesting poll.
Why?
I'm just saying, cause like, fuck her, put her in. He put her. Settle down, Alpha 5. Settle down. Power Rangers reference, in case you didn't know.
Like I was about to say, what?
Yeah, cause he says ay. So that's probably how Missy feels right now. But we see that he puts her in the lacrima, and she's naked.
Right.
She's full naked, like naked as fuck.
Yeah, she was clothed outside the guild, and she was naked when she put in the lacrima. So I don't know.
Well, I wonder.
I'm glad we didn't see those scenes.
I wonder what Prek did. I'm just saying.
I wondered.
Just saying, like, why you
Maybe.
getting naked?
Ooh, new theory, right? Maybe August
Prek is
is
the
actually
father?
the child of Pret and Mavis, yeah.
So he.
Is that
I mean, it's still awful, but it's better than Zeref.
significantly.
That's worse because that
Is
means
it?
he banged her while she was dead. Like he went ham while she died, and then brought her life in her stomach. I hope
It is Zeref though.
you're saying the
Like,
dude.
it's like
Really?
It's kind of the lesser of two evils in my opinion.
He got
Is
the
it
the
really?
male inside while she dead. The mayonesa.
Unless
inside.
Mavis's story was censored, the story she told us in 450 and 451, then clearly Zeref also did it while she was dead. Unless it was like a censored story or something, because we saw them kiss and then she was dead,
I'm
right?
telling you, the fan theory is they were boning while the silhouette was happening and they were kissing. Which was
See, and like before I started bursting out into laughter, I was gonna like talk about that. And if that's the case, I'd understand it, and it's like it'll be a good way of framing it. But the way that you look at the scene, the way it's drawn, the way it's like portrayed, there's absolutely nothing that gives the impression that she was just censoring the story. Like there isn't a shred of clothing that's like removed. There isn't any kind of.
well,
like,
she is wearing a dress, homie. She don't need to do a lot. I mean,
No,
we
it's
don't.
not like a small dress.
I mean,
Like, this is a hefty dress.
We don't want to
This is
fucking
like
get too
a-
graphic, but we don't want to.
I mean, I'm not saying she needs to bear all, but it's like any kind of hint that something might have happened, even if it was like some kind of visual metaphor, like I don't know, 2 butterflies or whatever. I don't know, something.
Seed pod exploding or something.
Oh my god. So clearly Missy is hashtag Team Prect.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that team existed. So
It does now, apparently.
I mean, Missy said he'd rather have Mavis get it on with Prect instead of Zeref while she's dead. Like he went in, and then the Lacrima was like, "Yo,
You don't know
having a
that
baby
didn't
now."
happen with Zeref though.
I understand your hatred for Zeref,
Zeref is a fucked up guy. Like I really would not put that past him at all.
but at least Zeref and her had like some sort of intimate connection while she was alive.
yeah, it was to die for.
you drop it like it's hot, homie. You drop it like it's hot. You want Pratt while she's dead. I mean,
Can we move on from this? I feel like I made a terrible mistake by saying that.
that's fine. We can. So you guys heard his little rant on Zeref and wanting Pratt to be the father, which is weird, but okay, live the dream. Hashtag live the dream. So we have hashtag Jet and Joy share the love with Levy. Hashtag practice the father. Oh, good stuff, guys.
Oh dear.
So hopefully this next topic doesn't take too much of our time. Alright, it's the Dragon Slayer debate. It's a very divisive debate in the fandom. Many people want the 7 Dragon Slayers to fight Logia. I'm of the mindset that I don't want that. Soma, are you hardcore for it? Or are you like super for it, or like majority of you?
Well, my kind of the way I feel about it is that it's not like I think that's how it has to be. It's not like I think this is the way it needs to be. Like this has to be the way to finish it. So much as I think I would just enjoy it. I think I would really. The idea sounds very appealing to me. If it was done right.
That's fine. You're wrong as usual, but that's fine. Misi.
Wow.
Misi is he's kind of neutral. He's kind of leaning towards negative, but he's more neutral.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a feeling either way. So me and Soma, I'll be respectful as opposed to how I was on Discord. I apologize to whoever I was with you. There's your apology. We're gonna talk about why we think it should happen or it shouldn't happen. Since Soma is for it, I'll let him explain why he's for it.
Okay, so it's not even about why it should happen, although I suppose there is kind of a plot. There is a precedent for it in the plot, because the whole point of Natsu and Wendy, Gargiel, the Twin Dragons being in this timeline in the first place is so that they can stop Logia in this timeline. That's the whole reason why they were sent through the Eclipse Gate by Zeref and Anna. It's like literally why they are there. The whole point of that plan was so they could work together to stop Logia. So it would be, the culmination to that plan. So that's one thing, though that in and of itself, I don't really care about that much.
Right.
But that's there. But for me, I think I would just enjoy it because me personally, I'm a sucker for team fights. Like I love seeing groups go up, like work together to take on like enemies that are more powerful than they are individually. I'm a really big fan of that kind of thing. I tend to enjoy that more than I enjoy kind of one person overpowering another. It's just my taste. And I feel like there would be a lot of scope for kind of a good fight with the Dragon Slayers. This actually ties into something I think we're gonna talk about slightly later on in the episode. But I actually don't think we're gonna get that because of a certain announcement that occurred recently. But yeah, more on that when we talk about it. But I, in a perfect world, could imagine kind of a good situation where they don't necessarily fight Logia now, because as is, even working together, I don't think they'd really stand a chance, because Spidey said this yesterday, like, none of them, with the exception of a couple, are really on.
No, don't be taking my points while I'm trying to make them.
Well, no, this is the thing. Your point is like, it's a good point and I'm engaging with it, but like I've got kind of an alternative suggestion. So you said they weren't on the level to be.
Oh no, yeah, I said they were weak. I said 4 of the 7 are weak as hell. They stand no chance. Jet and Joy have as much chance as they do. You could quote me on that. So
yeah, so he was really subtle about it. But
subtle. Okay.
But my other kind of alternative suggestion would be that we get rid of Logia for this arc. However they are able to. He decides to leave. Whatever. He gets distracted. Whatever.
He's gonna be like, "Yo, man, I'm tired. I'm gonna bounce. See you guys."
Yeah, he's just like, it's
He
Friday.
decides to leave was a pretty bad phrasing. Just, I'm kind of bored. I'm gonna go.
And the amount of salt would be amazing.
That alone.
Yeah, I kind of want to see that happen just for the salt, to be honest.
Yeah, I love it when it's anyway.
Yeah, continue with your point, because I'm trying to start mine.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. So anyway, I can imagine like a scenario where they go off and they train together. So they all become stronger. They learn how to fight together. They kind of maybe get to know each other a little bit better. They develop unison raids. They develop strategies or tactics, team moves that they can use to take on Logia, because they know individually they don't really have a chance, but they know that it's kind of their. I'll just say it. Their destiny, quote unquote, to take them on, because that's the whole point of the plan. So they, work together. They learn how to work together, and then they come to Acnologia. Natsu leads them on an assault against Acnologia in the end, and each of them kind of uses their own attributes, because outside of Natsu, every single Dragon Slayer has kind of an added superpower that comes with their Dragon Slayer magic. Wendy's got her support magic. Gargil's got his ability to turn himself into iron. Cobra's got his mind reading, and he can also use poison and stuff like that. So each of them can kind of use their attributes to kind of weaken Acnologia. I can imagine Wendy being on support, buffing the other Dragon Slayers, debuffing Acnologia, Cobra using poison to weaken Acnologia a bit, Gargil being on defense with his iron, Loxus stunning Acnologia with electricity and stuff like that, while Natsu kind of faces him face to face because he's the strongest hand-to-hand fighter. Natsu takes on Acnologia head on. So I can imagine something like that. I feel like when people think of the Dragon Slayers fighting Acnologia, they think it's just going to be some kind of really cheesy Sonic Heroes-esque kind of thing. But I can imagine it being, the way I've got it in my head, is something a lot more tactical and kind of well planned out. It's more like a strategy and a plan, as opposed to kind of just all of them roaring at him at the same time. You know what I mean?
Well, that was interesting. I mean, as you know, I don't agree, but
yeah, expressing your complete lack of joy when you had that response.
I mean, no, it was looking, man. I love the enthusiasm you showed for that. It just sounds ridiculous. Like I said, okay. Natsu, Gajil, and Loxus are on their own tier, and even then, I'd say Natsu and Loxus are a tier above Gajil. Wendy, Sting, Rogue, Cobra, they ain't scrubs, but they scrubs. Wendy is getting there to the point where she'd be more of the Gajil tier, but she's not there yet. And you're expecting them, doesn't matter how long, you're expecting them to fight Acnologia. Acnologia fight. 3 scrubs, 1 okay chick, 1 dude that's a tier below 2 of the strongest dudes, and you expect him to stand a chance? I mean, if anything, Sting, Rogue, and Cobra would be a liability for Natsu and Wendy, and even Gajil, because and even Loxus, because you know how much they care about people, right? Because as we saw Loxus grow and mature, he started caring more about other members of the guild or non-guild. So they'd just be a liability. Secondly, as we saw in the chapter, Acnologia consumes the magic that is thrown his way. I think Wendy tried to land an attack and failed miserably. Gajil tried to land not Gajil, Jalal tried to land an attack, failed miserably. Right? And it doesn't seem like it'll work ever. I think it's just hopeless to think that they even stand a chance together. And it makes sense now why Acnologia is afraid of Natsu or End, because End uses curses and Acnologia could only consume magic, right? Curses does not equal magic, as we learned in Tartarus. We also get the fact that Hero, since the Grand Magic Games, has teased an Acnologia / Natsu kind of skirmish. So for him to go and say, you know what, these 7 characters are gonna fight Acnologia, when we've seen that, besides Loxus and to some extent Gajil, none of them are at Natsu's level, is kind of far-fetched. I mean, you mentioned that you'd have them use their different elements, right?
Right.
And to some extent, I see Cobra being effective because he could read minds or whatever, or thoughts. But let's say Wendy tries to use her magic, well, Acnologia just consume it. Oh, Gajil wants to use his iron. Okay, let me just consume the magic. Oh, you're gonna use your iron, your steel beams, right? It's still gonna be able to deflect it right away, and he has the ability to turn human to dragon on the spot. So I just don't see how effective that would be. I think the reason, and I'm not trying to be rude or condescending, but I think the reason people want 7 versus 1 is because they're not delusional. I don't want to say that word because I got a lot of flack for it. But I think they have this naive thinking that if it's 7 versus 1, they'll be more tolerable of the writing, which they may not be fond of. But I mean, we've never seen Sting in Natsu's level. Even in the Grand Magic games, when Natsu storms into the guild, we see how much Sting is literally like scared out of his mind. Or it's Rogue the same thing. Natsu defeated Sting and Rogue. No Dragon Force, no Lightning Flame mode. These guys had Dragon Force and their element, and they used the Unison Ray. They still couldn't stop Natsu. And we're asking these two characters to somewhat be effective against Acnologia. I mean, we could say Mashima's a bad writer and all that, but his power scaling has never been that atrocious. So I don't see how it's even remotely possible for them to do that. But that's on me. You got any response, Soma, or thoughts?
Well, I actually mentioned this in Discord yesterday. I want to kind of say is, like I said before, I don't think this is like a likely thing to occur at all. Like, it's definitely, I really don't see it happening. And you mentioned the whole thing with Acnologia eating literally every kind of magic, and we're spilling into chapter discussion now. But
a little bit. I'm sorry about that.
That's alright. It's the next one we're talking about anyway. But yeah, because of that, that does kind of nullify the idea, and that was something I mentioned on Discord. I was a bit, a little let down, because it means that, yeah, pretty much the only effective force on Acnologia is END.
My boy.
When I was thinking about, well, it's not Nazi though, it's END.
It's Ethereus Natsu Dragneo, homie. Ethereus Natsu Dragneo. Does that say Natsu Dragneo? Oh yes, it does.
Yeah, but Natsu's a human. He himself said now.
Natsu is dead. He is the
Wait, what?
The original Natsu. The original Natsu.
Oh, yeah,
the original Natsu is dead. Okay, this guy's a test tube baby who was reborn because Zeref had lonely abandonment issues. He's human with dragon and demon aspects, so he's still END.
That's actually you saying it like that. It makes you think of Natsu in quite a weird way. He's not like a real person.
He's not. He's not.
He's artificial. That's a strange thought.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, that's its own thing.
Yes,
right.
it is.
So while I listen to both of your arguments, right, I think the whole Acnologia eating all magic seems to be a strong argument. However, I have had a thought. So we never actually saw Wendy land that attack, right? Because Christina, Blue Pegasus knocked Acnologia out of the way, right? So the only magic we've actually seen him eat is Jalal's, okay? So we can see that he can eat Jalal's magic, and it doesn't seem that he's sort of a specific. He's not Jalal's element, or he's not Heavenly Body Dragon Slayer or anything like that. However, when Irene attacked him, he didn't absorb the magic then, did he?
Yeah, true.
But she wasn't using...
It seems he what did he dodge? I can't even remember.
She wasn't using Dragon Slayer magic though. She was just using the staff.
But then why would he dodge? Why would he dodge?
Would you not?
It's a similar thing to August, right? You remember when Gildarts
Hold on. If you have meteors coming at you, are you not gonna dodge? You'll be like, yo, I could take it like a champ.
No, that wasn't a meteor. That was a fireball. It was made out of fire.
Oh,
if it's fire, he should be able to.
The point still stands. If you could dodge the attack, would you not dodge it?
Or no, if you can consume it and it would make you more powerful, then yeah, you would consume it.
Look, I'm gonna ruin your argument right now. Tenor Island happened. Natsu, Gajil, Wendy attacked Acnologia. It didn't phase them at all. Gildarts helped them out, and all these other characters helped them out. Loxus helped them out. It didn't phase him at all. He still did that little hyper beam and left them.
That was when he was in dragon form. Maybe he can only do it in human form, for example.
Plus,
I feel like Hero would not back himself into a corner in order to, basically force only E&D versus Acnologia. I feel like there will be some weakness that obviously Acnologia wouldn't just state, because why would you state your weakness? I feel like there is some niche to this that we haven't been told yet. Considering, you know, he dodged Irene's attack, we never actually saw Wendy attack him. So I feel it's hard to jump to conclusions by saying, you know, oh, he's completely untouchable by magic.
He has in Tenro. He was unfazed and unharmed by the magic of the Dragon Slayers, by the magic of Guildarts. Well, one thing, Guildarts, I think Guildarts did affect him, right? Went to close combat, but he wasn't using magic. So maybe close combat, no magic. But we've seen the Dragon Slayers try to attack Ethnologia. We've seen them fail. We saw Godzarina try to attack Ethnologia right away, remember? And then Ethnologia was like, nah fam, you dead. Dead as fuck. You can have a hole in your body and everybody's gonna laugh at you. Because you thought you were great with your 8 lacrimas. But you nothing. You just dust. So...
True.
About the point on the Dragon Slayers trying to attack him on Tenro, it's true that when they attacked him, it wasn't effective, but then you have to kind of think about when they tried to attack the other dragons in the Grand Ledger Games arc, and they couldn't do anything to them either. And that wasn't because those dragons could continue their magic, that was just because the Dragon Slayers weren't strong enough. So you could easily say that it was because they were even weaker on Tenro. You could easily say that the reason they couldn't affect Technologia was just because they weren't very strong as Dragon Slayers yet.
So they can't. So let me get this straight. So they can't affect, or they don't affect the dragons in the Grand Magic Games, even though, let's say a year has passed for some of them, right? But you expect them a year later to be able to attack and affect Technologia. Did I hear that right?
Now the thing is here is they couldn't affect those dragons because, you know, whatever, they weren't strong enough.
A year passes.
But a year passes, they're a lot stronger now, and so this is what I'm saying. Is that I'm, like I said before, I wouldn't want it to happen right now because they're still, you know, I personally wouldn't believe it yet. I mean, even Natsu, as strong as he is, if he was attacking Akinogi, I'd still be like,
I don't think Natsu would attack.
But give it some time.
Okay, hold on. Wendy attacks Irene. Does it affect her as much, or no?
I'm trying to remember. Honestly.
I don't think it did. I think it did affect her, but not as much, right? And Irene was nowhere at the level that Acnologia was. So, I don't know. I just think it's crazy. You also brought up the point that you said that the Dragon Slayers were brought to the future to fight Acnologia. They were not. They were brought to bring the dragons to the future. They didn't really care what they did with them. They did teach them the magic, but they basically had them as containers for the dragons, so they could get Etherion and like be strong enough to defeat Acnologia. But as we know, Igneo was an arrogant little man, little dragon man, and failed miserably. Got his arm ripped off, hyper beamed, and turned to dust. I don't think everything is pointing that no matter how many people you have, magic is not gonna affect Acnologia. I mean, okay, this is a. Misha, do you have any final thoughts? Any side you leaned on more? Because it's perfect transition for the chapter discussion.
I'd still rather lean to no. Because, you know, largely just because of the power levels, it doesn't make sense. It would be really underwhelming for people like Sting and Rogue to have any effect on,
oh my god.
Or like even Cobra. It'd be really underwhelming for them to have any effect on Acnologia, really.
You just out of nowhere, Romeo just punches him and kills him. Oh, that'd be hilarious. For my papa.
Yeah, I feel like that would be underwhelming considering he has been such an important villain. So I feel like it has to be resolved in a satisfying way that doesn't end up with, you know, people who are, you know, historically very weak compared to many other characters, like, as you said, Sting and Rogue not being able to beat Natsu. So I would lean towards no, it's probably not going to happen, and no, I don't think it really could be done that well. And, you know, obviously with the whole magic thing, we don't know enough about it. You know, him absorbing free magic. We don't know enough about it to sort of make a informed, like confident decision on like whether or not that's going to affect the fight. But I mean, it probably will. I was just throwing ideas at this, saying maybe there's a weakness to it.
All right.
Okay.
As
Well,
much as
actually,
as much as I prefer,
yeah.
much as I prefer one-on-one fights than group fights, unlike you, Soma. I don't know again about Natsu, or E&D rather, versus Acnologia. Again, I just feel like that would be kind of underwhelming again. I find it really difficult to find a way in which this is resolved satisfyingly.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
That like leads into what I was going to say, which is because it seems that we're pretty much agreed that the Dragon Slayers versus Eclipse fight won't happen, and it's not necessarily the right way to go. I would really just like it from like a fan service perspective, but that's kind of whatever. But throwing that aside, what do you guys think would be the right way to deal with it? Especially with, we don't know exactly how his non-elemental thing works, but from the sounds of it, he can eat what magic of any attribute. So, how would you want this to be dealt with? Because I'm not entirely sure. Outside of just E and D, which I'm personally, kind of, like Kamiti, I would find that a bit underwhelming if that was the way it was dealt with. But I can't really think of that many other ways.
So what I want in this is I want Gray to die. No, I'm just kidding.
Are you?
No, I'm just kidding. I think E&D is going to be fully powered up because Mavis is going to unleash the book, because you know how she had the book last? And she's going to unleash the door. So I think that's going to play a huge role, and it's going to power it up. Also, I think Gray's going to play a role in helping him.
Right.
So that'll be interesting, in my opinion. You see a fully powered up Gray helping defeat. Of course, he's not going to land that many hits. But we know that we're gonna have that fight. We see that it affects demons and curses, right? So maybe Demon Slayer magic will kind of be effective against Acnologia. We know God Slayer magic was effective against the Dragon Slayers, so maybe that'll be effective. It'd be interesting, in my opinion. Look, this is what I want. Not to defeat Acnologia one shot, just so everybody could be salty and I could be like, that's my boy wrecked him. But that'd be horrible storytelling.
Yeah, you say you want that, but really, I don't think you do.
I kind of do.
I think he does.
You underestimate my love for it. When Natsu was one-shotting those gods left and right in the Avatar, oof, I ate that shit up. Oh my god. When he power shot that motherfucker and went boom, what is it? Flame Lightning, Flame Dragon King Iron Fist. I was like, that's my boy. He wrecked this god. What you gonna do now, priest? You ain't got nothing. And then when he just body checked Nineheart into the wall, oof, and then Jacob with the power punch again, I was hyped. I was so hyped. I was so fucking hyped. So I kinda do want it, but I know a lot of people wouldn't like it, so I moderate the subreddit and I don't want to deal with that shit. So I kind of don't want it, right? But it'd be interesting to see the other Slayers play a part in helping defeat Acnologia, because we saw how effective some of them were.
So this brings up an interesting point, like with Azareth claiming Larcade was, his ultimate weapon against Acnologia. So now that we know that he was, so I am correct in saying, I'm not confused, that he is an Ethereal Striker, like he is a demon, like created a failed attempt to resurrect Natsu, right?
Well, Larcade was the most perfect of the demons he has. That's why he called it a Dragneel.
Yeah, right. Okay, so does this sort of fit in with, magic not being able to affect Acnologia, so he has to use curses from demons? Is that his, weapon against Acnologia? I think that would make sense, but I've sort of been slightly annoyed with Zareth recently, not that I'm ever not that annoyed with Zareth.
Zerov a
It
bitch
just
though. Like I get it, bro.
when he
I
just
get it,
killed
bro.
Arcade, and I'm like, your whole goal was really to defeat Agnologia. Like, well, like not your whole goal, but that's one of the things you like constantly talking about. And then you just sort of straight up kill your weapon, your secret weapon against Agnologia, just because he kind of pissed you off when he was fighting his brother. Like, just, I
Just
really
because he
don't like
called
him
you
at
dad,
all.
just because he called you dad, you acting like a bitch. I mean,
Pretty much.
that's my line. I get it, bro. He like Zera fans. I mean, I'm sure Hero loves you, but Zera a bitch. He a whiny bitch. When Natsu said you have a little brother in front of you in the Crunchyroll translation and just smacked him, I was like, that's my boy. He's gonna make you feel stupid now, Zeref. And then Zeref tried to be condescending by calling him. It's when he first said Natsu and then said, "Oh, I mean END." I was like, "Oh boy, you're gonna regret those words. You're gonna regret those words, right?" But I think Zeref just he doesn't know what he's doing. Um, which is a fun thing, right? Because we experience it with them as it continues. But it's like, Zareth, you need a better plan. Like, you killed your secret weapon, like Misu said. Acnologia is back. August is dead. Irene is dead. Your three strongest Spriggan are gone. I mean, like, what is it? Like, 9 of them are dead, right? But the three strongest are like
Pretty sure.
super dead. How you gonna defeat Agnologia? I mean, what is Nineheart gonna come back and bring them back as historias or what? It just I don't like that. Um, so as someone, there was something you wanted to bring up, right?
Yeah, I was talking about that before. Um, so we got this earlier today. The afterword for Volume 60 has been shown, and I'll just read out the relevant excerpt. I was so excited when 50th volume was released, presumably the 50th volume. Yet we're already in Volume 60. Surprisingly fast, isn't it? So, I think that some of you already guessed, but this series is Fairy Tail's last arc. I will do my best with drawing until the very end, so please stay with us. So, that tells us right there, we are very much at the home stretch. We're probably going to finish Fairy Tail probably this year. So, we're definitely, we're definitely towards the end game now.
I don't think it'll finish this year. I think it's too early.
I'd be surprised too. I mean, what? How many weeks have we got left of the year? Like 40, roughly.
So 40 chapters?
40 chapters is a. I don't, it seems like there's a lot to be resolved. I wouldn't want the fight with Acnologia to last, what, like 2 chapters or something. I would want it to last like a long time.
Like some kind of Naruto stuff? Would you want it to be like a good 10, 15 chapters?
Maybe not that long. I don't know, just. And then what are they going to do afterwards? And then, they've obviously got to deal with like Zeref himself. And I don't know if we could do it in 40 chapters, maybe. To be fair, where were we 40 chapters ago? Like, it was in a pretty different state, so maybe it's pretty much impossible to tell.
Yeah, I mean, Fairy Tail's known at this point for going at pretty breakneck speeds sometimes, so I don't know. I really don't know. I've been saying before we got this confirmation that I was hoping this wasn't going to be the final arc, because I was hoping that Acnologia would get like his own arc within a resolution, because one of my main things with Acnologia is the fact that he really doesn't have much in the way of characterization, like, at all. And he's never really been the focus of the plot for very long. He just kind of, normally what happens is that things will be kind of going however they go, then Acnologia will come in and make things worse, and then he'll be around for a couple of chapters, and then he'll go away. But he's never really been the prime villain or kind of the main focus of Fairy Tail's attention. So I think it would have been nice to have like just a short arc where that is the case, and he's like the main threat that everybody has to focus on. But I guess we won't really get that.
When did Volume 60 release?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I know it released in March, but what day in March? Um, so I'll look for that. Just let me see. Any thoughts?
Hmm. I don't really know. Basically, you said it all. So, um, yeah, pretty much no thoughts.
So you felt the same way about like Acnologia, kind of. Would you have wanted another arc for Acnologia specifically?
It depends what Zareth does, because as you've been saying, Spidey, like he needs to come up with a plan, or at least put his plan to action if he has a plan, which I really don't think he does, considering the way he's been acting. Pretty much crazed, delusional, has no idea, is not following any sort of structure at all. So he needs to do something. And so if that's resolved, in a lengthy sort of way, which I feel like it has to be, because Zareth has been the underlying villain in so many of these arcs. Like Lullaby, right, was the first time we heard of Zareth. So it's been ever since then we've been hearing about Zareth the whole time, and for him to be resolved and dealt with in a really sort of underwhelming way would be pretty underwhelming, would be pretty disappointing. And then if he was dealt with in a good way, I mean maybe I'm slightly biased, but I feel he should die.
Nice.
As in that would be a satisfying end. I don't want him to be redeemed, and like absolutely do not want him to join Fairy Tail at all. That would basically be worst case scenario for me, for him to be redeemed and become part of Fairy Tail and fight against Acnologia. Ugh, I would hate that. So if he was dealt with in some decent way, then maybe I could see another arc pertaining to Acnologia.
One thing. Okay, so the volume 60 released last week in Japan. But one thing we gotta consider is how long this arc will be, because it's nearing 100 chapters. If we consider chapter 437 to be the start of the Alvarez arc, it's nearing 100 chapters. What is it? The 8th chapter that comes out will be the 100th chapter of this arc. So I don't know how long. I could still see it going on a bit longer, right? I could see it doing the 7 Deadly Sins thing, where it's one arc, but it's got many sub-arcs, sub-plots that they're trying to resolve. And it's gonna be sad when it ends, because that's the reason I started getting into anime again, because of Fairy Tail. But
yeah, same to be honest.
So it'll be interesting. It's interesting because the movie trailer specifically mentions it's the start of the climax. May 6th is when it comes out in Japan. So if that's the start of the climax, I could still see us having like another 70 to 100 chapters after the said climax, which was the May 6th for the movie. Let's not forget, we also have the anime. So is the reason he's trying to cut it, or is the reason he's ending it because he wants to focus on the anime and the resurgence of the anime, or why? That'll be interesting to see. But see, I didn't know about this news. See, when I thought you were talking about the afterword where Hiro talks about where he's mentioning that he sometimes goes along with the story, like he just goes with vibes on how it should go.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. So when you said you want to talk about the afterword, that's what you were talking about. This news is volume 60. Afterward news is kind of shocking to me, because Weekly Shonen Magazine just lost Yamada-kun. Wasn't the most popular series, but it was popular enough for them. 7 Deadly Sins has been on hiatus, on and off, because of the mangaka's health. So, and their other series aren't that popular, especially not in the Western, and with the Western audience. I mean, Domestic no Kanoho, well, I think that's super nice, was popular, but then it started not, like the scanlations don't even bother with it anymore. Fuka, I mean, need I say more? Reading Fuka gives you a greater appreciation for Fairy Tail. That's all I'll say about Fuka. That's all I'll say about Fuka. So I think it's just interesting that he's ending it. I wanna know what he's gonna be working on next. I'll be more than happy to continue following his work because it's amazing. So
I mean, if he takes like half the internet's advice, his next work will most likely be 18 plus.
yeah,
Yeah.
see, because those people just want to stroke it. Hashtag put the DNA in their hand.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
That's what they want to. That's probably what they're saying when they do that. Put that DNA in
Oh
their
my god,
hand.
stop. You're the worst.
I think that's what Mavis told Zareth. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, she said Prec was better.
Okay. Again, we got massive off tangent. So overall, it's kind of sad news. We all followed the series for a while. We'll still continue the podcast. Because of the anime. Maybe we won't do it as frequently because there won't be chapters to talk about. But we'll still continue the podcast. We could always evolve it to something different. Because the goal for me was to continue with Fairy Tail, and yet the end was coming. But I didn't want it to be the end for the series, for the podcast. I wanted to make it grow, maybe talk about other series, talk about other stuff, maybe video games, what have you. Just like the Discord server, there's a reason. I know I'm going off tangent, and we should be talking about the manga chapter. That's the reason we have the dividers with the staff area, the Fairy Tail series, the discussion areas, and stuff like that. Because I didn't want to just make it Fairy Tail. I want to make it a community where you can talk about whatever you want, as long as you're respectful, even though sometimes I'm not. Again, sorry, guy in the manga channel, why I roasted pretty bad. But yeah. So with that being said, chapter 528, Dragon of Magic. What did you guys think of it? Oh, well, you know what? I'll start off. I thought it was boring. Because last chapter...
I thought it was boring.
I thought it was boring. I didn't stutter. I said it was boring. Okay. Ethnologia is still acting like a jackass, smiling and laughing. Jalal shows up and is an eating jerk. That's good, I guess, for all you Jalal fanboys. Ichiya saves the day. Whoop-de-doo. Well, then we have the biggest controversy of all. Is it Anna? Is it Layla? Is it somebody else in the Heartfilia clan? It just thought it was boring. The last chapter was about Natsu and Zara finally being serious. And this chapter we get this. I was like, okay, I guess.
Okay, that's fair. I suppose I don't think you were very invested in the whole Ethnologia Wendy as a plot anyway. So I mean, I'm kind of guessing. So you can tell me if I'm wrong. But I got the feeling you weren't really that invested in. Kind of
Well, there was nothing going on. It was just Ethnologia stopping Irene's dead body. That's all that was going on, and Urza and Wendy making like shocked faces. So there's really nothing to be invested on. I mean, we knew, as I've said before, this is a cliche-filled, predictable series. So we knew that Wendy and Urza were gonna be attacked and they were gonna be saved somehow. Jalal is just a character that I don't like or dislike. He's just there. So I was like, So that's why.
Yeah. For me personally, I guess I'll give my thoughts. The chapter was weird. It's. I mean, I'll go through it from the beginning, I guess. You start off, and Akno's still there, still stomping on Irene's body. Basically, like he's kind of like a cat with a ball of yarn. He just can't stop playing with it, of course. And he's kind of doing what he does. And then he eventually attacks Urza. I mean, actually, that's one thing I wanted to bring up. You see Urza almost seem kind of mad at Akno for kind of desecrating Irene's corpse like that. Because that's interesting. Because before that, she kind of not really shown any kind of care towards Irene as her mother. But she sees Akno stomping on her, and she's angry, and that's something. It probably won't go anywhere because Irene's dead, but it's something.
Sorry, just to interject, I think maybe, as you said, like, as she's shown really no sort of attachment to Irene, maybe it's partially because of her values of honor and, you know, chivalrous combat sort of thing, rather than actually, you know, this is my biological mother, you shouldn't be doing this, just, you know, we engaged in combat, I defeated her fairly, you should not be taking it any further than that. That's sort of like values and ideas that she tends to uphold.
That's true. Yeah, and just common decency. You don't really.
True, yeah, just snapping on corpses
really
isn't
nice.
something you generally do.
Yeah.
Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, so then he attacks Urza, and of course, Joel comes through, saves her, my boy, doing what he does, it's great, I loved it. And actually, I really liked...
Hold on. Doing what he does involves losing a lot. Not being a hero. Just
Doing what he does is getting really unfortunate matchups. And,
True.
I mean...
Eh.
Anyway.
Continue.
So-
I'm just saying.
So I like the fact that as soon as Jalal comes in, he doesn't say any words. There's no like kind of cool badass lines or whatever. He just kind of realizes the situation and he just immediately just starts going off just on Akno. When I first saw the spoilers, what I thought was going to happen was that he was basically going to try and kind of blitz Akno as much as he could with his heavenly body magic as like a distraction so they could get away. But that's not really what happens. He's kind of just trying to keep Akno off balance, and it's cool. I really liked his magic. His magic looked very cool, like much cooler than usual in this chapter. You see him make like swords out of like heavenly light on some Yu-Gi-Oh kind of stuff. Swords of revealing light.
Yeah.
Like that was great. I really liked that. He's got a whole load of new spells with names that I'm not even going to try pronouncing, which are great. Even though they're completely ineffective because it's Acnologia, which is less great. And then Acno comes through, he turns into a dragon. I'm not sure why he turned into a dragon though, because I don't think Acnologia says anything when he does dragonize.
Well, what happened was, so when he acknowledges and recognizes that it's Acnologia, right?
Yeah.
Then Jalal tries to do all these attacks, and that's when you see Agnologia's signature move, which is just laughing hysterically at the sky. And then he follows it up with saying that this magic doesn't affect me. He consumes it and then he turns into a dragon. I guess he was just trying to flex his muscle and show that he's the strongest. Not because he needed to, but because he wanted to.
Yeah, that's true. He just wanted to flex because I guess he's just that guy.
He's trying to impress Urza.
Trying to bless Wendy. Anywho, in fact, speaking of Wendy, you see her basically go Super Saiyan 3. She really does look like she's going Super Saiyan there.
Yeah.
And that's completely it doesn't really mean anything. It's something. I guess it raises the question of re-raised the question of, okay, Acno can eat any magic, but what about Dragon Slaying magic? Could he eat that? Don't know. Maybe not. And then we get the wildest part of the chapter. Well, I know there's one guy, one of our mods, absolutely loved this moment. He knows who he is.
I wonder what his name is. I wonder.
I don't know, but I think they call him quite handsome, dashing even. But anyway, we see Christina, literally best ship, coming through and it's a drive-by. Aklo gets hit in a drive-by. It's great. Like it's Compton out here. He gets hit in a drive-by, and who's piloting? Ichia. I just like what? I don't think anybody can say they were expecting this. I mean,
he's an unlikely hero, yeah.
Like this is like almost a troll. Like
it is. But as like surprising as it seems each time, when you look back, he has done this quite a few times. This really is not the first time Christina has come out of nowhere and saved them. Yet each time we never expect it.
The Albereth arc is the Ichiya redemption arc. Right.
He's actually low-key been, like, a star player, which I don't have to
He's done more than Jalal ever has, which is weird to say.
Alright, let's
I mean,
Debatable.
I mean, is it really though? How many times has Jalal saved Fairy Tail or anybody?
Well, actually, yes. Well, he didn't say Fairy Tail to Guild.
Okay,
He
I'm
did
waiting.
save Natsu by giving her the Flame of Rebuke.
Well, that's not really saving him. That's just helping him. I want to call it.
Natsu would have died otherwise.
Can you? I really,
Well,
really, he would have
had he
died.
not put that barrier
Really?
up, literally this chapter, I'm pretty sure they would both be dead. Like Azza and Wendy.
Okay,
That
so
is true.
that's one. That's one. What are the other ones?
It's 2 lives, it's 2 of the main characters, how can you not
No,
see the significance of
he
that?
just used. Okay, if we go by that
He also
logic,
saved her
hold
from
on,
9
hold on,
part.
hold on. If we go by that logic, that means Ichiya saved Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Makarov, Wendy, Happy, and what is it? Carla, right? In the
I'm
beginning
debating
of
what
the
you're
arc?
saying, which is that Jalal has done nothing and not saved anyone.
No, I said he's
Yeah.
done less than Ichiya.
Mm,
I mean, at this point, most people have done less than Ichiya. Because
true.
this is like the second
Not
time
many
this
people
arc-
have just like tackled Aknologi, you know.
Yeah, like
That shit was funny. I mean,
it's funny. It was hilarious. When I saw it, I died. I was in the office when I read it. Like,
which
died.
it kind of makes sense though because we see that magic doesn't affect them, but physical attacks do.
Sure.
So
I mean,
maybe-
I saw the people didn't like it because they were kind of like Akmo should have seen it coming because super senses, and I get it, but at the same time,
Acno is
come on,
arrogant
you can't.
though,
That's funny.
and he was consumed and fixated with making Jalal look foolish for trying to attack him. So he's not gonna see a giant fucking ship like coming at him because he's focused on Jalal. I mean,
I also thought it was a nice sort of like reference to the fact that Dragon Slayers have a weakness of vehicles.
oh, that's true. I didn't think of
That's
that.
funny.
I didn't think of that.
That's all they need to do. They just need to haul him onto Christine and just fly him around in a circle.
Exactly. That does bring up the question though. He says the line, something like, we need to take him to a place where we might have a chance of defeating him. Where is this place? Because it's not. It seems like he's referring, from what the translations say. Obviously, it's not Crunchyroll, it's not completely reliable. But it seems like they're taking him to a specific place rather than taking him to a specific person or object. It's
Calling
like
it-
a place. They will
Calling
be
it
able to
right
defeat
now,
him.
it's Mount Hakuben. Calling it right now.
I bet it's
Okay.
it's just Fiora's fastest roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. I don't.
Actually, yeah, it could be Mount Zonia. I don't know. I know people are kind of thinking it's the. I think I saw people talking about them maybe bringing him to the Eclipse Gate, maybe trying to like kick him back in time or something like that, get rid of him like that. But if I
That
recall
doesn't solve
correctly,
the
the
problem
Eclipse.
at all, though, does it?
No,
They're just back in time.
And if I recall correctly, the Eclipse Gate isn't actually working anymore anywhere. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But that's all of that. And then we get the bombshell. Or should I say the bombshells? Because that's how we recognize her.
I mean, okay, it's debatable. Debatable. That is not. That is not. What do you think it is? This. What do you think it is?
I have no idea. I have no clue. I mean, when you look at her, you're inclined to think Anna because she's got.
You just looked at the rack. Don't lie. Don't say you looked at the clothes. You looked at the rack.
I mean, it is the clothes. I mean, it's the way the clothes, frame the sweater dumplings. That's kind of.
The sweat. Did you just call them sweater dumplings?
I did.
No, oh my god. Sweater dumplings. Hashtag sweater dumplings.
I can sort of agree with you though, Spidey, in the sense that when we saw her in Natsu's heart, they were considerably larger and more. I can't see it. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe Lucy's long lost cousin or something. I don't know. Maybe Layla had a sister, but they didn't mention. Maybe
Fucking
that's future Lucy who somehow came back
sweater
again.
dumplings. Ooh, that'd be interesting if it was future Lucy. Not gonna lie.
One thing I have noticed, looking back through this chapter, is just actually I didn't realize at the time, but how like good the chapter looks, the panel looks, where Christina crashes into Akalogia. Hold on, I'll paste it here.
I know. Compared to the panels before and after, this one's like a work of love.
Like, come on, look at this. It is incredible. If you
We're,
guys can
we're,
see
we're
this.
definitely gonna have to link the listeners
I posted it just now.
to it. It's basically the image where. Look, put it this way: Acnologia is Mavis, the ship is Zerus,
Oh my god.
and that's how August was made.
Oh my god.
He went.
You know, I don't even want to be on the server anymore. Finally, I don't care. I'm done with you.
That was well played, sir.
I'm
That
just-
is
I'm
well
just done
played.
with
So when you gave your thoughts, I give my thoughts. Missy, anything you want to add?
Right, in terms of the mystery character at the end.
Oh, the character at the end, or anything in the movie, or anything in the movie, anything in the chapter.
Well, I'd say I more agree with Summer, really. I didn't find it boring. I'm a bit of a Jalal fanboy. So seeing him not being, like actually seeing him at all, which is interesting. I do want to know how that fight ended with him and August, though. Because he clearly isn't destroyed, but I mean, August won because August went on to fight other people. So, it's interesting to think how that might have resolved. But, yeah, I'm a fan of Jalal. He has a weird facial expression when he's fighting. He always seems very cocky. And I can understand that he doesn't know that it's Acnologia, because, he hasn't seen him in human form yet, but surely he must recognize that as an immense magical power, and he seems to be almost, cocky and as if he was fighting someone far weaker and he knew he was going to win in his facial expressions. So that was interesting. But yeah, I was happy to see Jalal back, basically. And in terms of the mystery character, I have nothing. Obviously the hair is very similar to Lucy and Heartfilia's. We've talked about the chesticles.
No, sweater dumplings.
I think sweater dumplings is better, to be honest. Looking at the clothes right now, I can't remember what clothes we saw before. They almost look slightly reminiscent of Xerath robes, actually. Like, are you guys looking at them now?
And before it's Mavis and Zerev's daughter.
Stop, oh my god. Right, so yeah, the sort of little like fringes on the shoulder pads, sort of look slightly like Xerath's robe, but really, I don't know. I have no idea.
That's actually a good point, because if that is a character from kind of the past or from Xerath, the clothes could be kind of indicator of like another time, like an older time, like a kind of older fashion. So that could be a sign that they are from like Xerath's time.
Oh, actually, it was said that I can't even remember anymore. Anna or Layla made Natsu's scarf, right?
Anna made Natsu's scarf out of
Anna, right? So perhaps maybe she
skills.
also made Xerath's robes, and that's why they look similar.
Oh yeah,
Dunno.
potential.
I find it hard to care for Zeref.
Yeah, me too.
And with the news that it's ending, and then this chapter was kind of mad for me because I'm not a fan of Jalal. It's like, damn it, Fairy Tail, better end on a high note. I know this is. We'll give our predictions. It'll be interesting how Mashima ends it. If he'll end it with a giant time skip, or if he'll end it with. And you know what? I was fucking right too, because I talked about how this arc was about family, about the romance and all that, and you see it in this arc, right? Every pairing has had a moment, and I'm waiting for Jerza, aka Jalal and Ursa, to have a moment. So it'll be interesting to see how Hero ends or concludes the series. If he'll leave it open for a Boruto style sequel, hopefully with the art not being as atrocious as Boruto.
Oh my god, don't even.
how you make, I know this is a tangent and I apologize, how you make Hinata look like a goddamn grandma?
Oh my god, I can't believe they did that.
She's like
She
25,
doesn't look like her.
30, and you make her look like a grandma? Like, you serious, bro? And I know me, she's like, I don't know what the hell you guys talking about, but oh my lord, she looks so, oh my, no, stop it. Whoever is the mangaka for Boruto, get your shit together. Get your, it's once a month, and your drawing is still worse than a, I mean, I don't say it's bad, but just saying the way you draw Hinata and the way you draw Naruto is bad. Not gonna lie. It'll just be interesting to see. So going back to Fairy Tail, it'll be interesting to see how Mashima ends it, because there's so much potential here for spin-offs and continuations and side stories that I just want to see how he will end it. That being said, any predictions from you guys?
Well, I suppose just to first mention off the name of the chapter was Teacher. Take from that what you will. I'm not really sure what to think about that.
Natsu's gonna teach Zeref some moves. I said Natsu, like fighting moves. Jesus. They're brothers, you sick shit.
No, it's not in that way. Oh god, I know you're bad, but you're not that bad.
Yeah, disgusting. And Mavis is going, so like, he may be teaching him those moves too, just for you, Missy.
You have to bring this up every time. Solomon, you got any ideas?
You brought up the title of being teacher.
Yes, he did.
So the first thing I thought of was that the teacher would kind of relate to the mystery woman. Maybe the mystery woman was a teacher of Zeref's. Maybe she also is like super old or something, and she was one of Zeref's, I don't know, elders or whatever. Because you see that when he was a kid, he basically went to magic school, and he was meant to be really smart. So maybe she was one of his teachers or something like that. Maybe they had like a good relationship or something, and she wants to like help him be at peace, aka murder him. There. And that comes with beating Acnologia. I don't know, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it makes the most sense because, I mean, you know, we see her and then immediately the title teacher is given. But as we've known in the past, titles aren't always very related to the events of the actual chapter. But hopefully, you know, it'll have some relevance.
Yeah.
Any predictions that aren't related to Zervis from you, Spidey?
I'm not sure he's here.
Right, okay.
Oh no, my mic was on mute. Okay. One of the problems I've had with Mashima is that he jumps around too goddamn much with his subplots. Okay, we had a strong thing going with Zeref and Natsu. And I'm talking recently, right? Because I don't want to go back all throughout the entire arc. But he's had Zeref and Natsu in there. It was developing great. And then he just like, nah, you guys are getting Acnologia and Urza and Wendy. Yeah, I don't really care about Acnologia subplot right now. It doesn't interest me because, I mean, it's Acnologia. Nobody's gonna stand a chance against him. So I could care less about that subplot at the moment. I want to see what's gonna happen with Mavis, Zeref, and Natsu. I want to see Mavis's plan. I want to see what it is. And I've always said she's more of a statistician as opposed to a tactician, because she has no tactics. I'm sorry, she doesn't. She has.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. The recent in the recent arc, there have been some pretty major oversights. For example, setting the dragon slayers on airships. I mean, there's evidence in the past. You know, the second trade caravan war, whatever it's called.
Well, that was just
positioning
hearsay.
Units.
That was hearsay. That was something we were told. We were also told that END founded Tartaros, which wasn't the case.
No. We saw her specifically say, like, you know, oh, send the units back there, and they said, oh, why would you do that, blah blah blah, and then it worked.
Well, yeah,
we weren't just told that she helped. We were shown how she helped by telling them to position their units differently.
But I still think that's more based on her as a statistician, where she's playing more the probability game than anything else. than actual
Sure.
like tactic. I mean, she's smart. I don't get me wrong, but like in Grand Magic games, it's like you have this much percent chance to beat them. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
I could
going.
kind of see, especially the statistician sort of point of view when she was reading off those numbers in the Grand Magic games.
I mean, I
I
don't
can
see
definitely
her
see
with
that.
a map. Besides the trade war, I don't see her with a map saying you're gonna attack here, you're gonna attack here, you're gonna attack here. Instead, she's going, the probability of this happening is this. Probability is like, okay, we get it. You smart with numbers, but like that doesn't make you a tactician. Um, so Majima just gotta make sure he stays consistent with storyline. If he's gonna focus on one subplot, don't transition to the other right away because those invested at the other subplot are like left to hang. I mean, he gave us what, like a month and a half, so he told us who Irene was. Like he has
Yeah.
Irene
something like that.
say, "You are me and I am you," and then we don't hear anything from Irene again, and there's for like a month and a half, and it's like, okay, like any day now, Macho, while we're young. So I just want that to happen. I probably won't. It'll probably be on the teacher aspect. It'll probably be a flashback, right? So there's that. I don't have anything else to add for the prediction because it's probably why because I wasn't too fond of the chapter, so it's probably why
Sure.
I don't have a lot. But it was an enjoy. I'll say this: it was an enjoyable chapter if you love these characters, or if you're really invested in these characters. I'm invested in the characters. They're not my favorites, so eh. But I could see someone like Soma or someone like Ninja or Chowder who like Jalal, who like Urza, who like the Jurza pairing, be interested in the chapter and stuff like that. But for me, I like Natsu. I wanted to see his continuation with Zeref because it ended on such a high, right? Brother, and then like this emotion, and then Zeref tries to be condescending, but Natsu isn't buying it, and you just see his like powers surge, which is amazing. But yeah, that being said, as I always say, it's been 2 hours and 1 minute, which is crazy. I mean, half of it was us making fun of Misi with his hashtag
Yep.
prect, hashtag prect Mavis. Share the
Isn't
love.
that like half of my existence on this server though? Just people making fun of me.
I mean, to be fair, you said you wanted prect to bone a dead woman, so
When that's the lesser of two evils, there's some real problems.
there's that. All right. So Misi, anything you want to plug? Anything you want to talk about? Just wrapping things up.
No, I think this has been pretty good and pretty long.
That's what Mavis told Zeref. What? Soma?
I really just walked into that one, didn't I?
Soma, anything you want to plug? Anything you want to?
Yeah, so I guess I've been listening to a bit of music lately. Listened to Ed Sheeran's new album. That was pretty good. So it's called Divide. Listen to that if you're into some good pop and a bit of hip
I
hop
am
influence.
Did you
Yeah.
heavily into Ed Sheeran's new album.
did you
I pretty
did,
much like every song on there.
did you listen to Kendrick's new single?
Oh my god, yeah, that was freaking fire. I love that.
I'm not a fan of
Um,
Kendrick, but that song was pretty dope. That track,
Yeah,
that track was
awesome.
dope. That was dope. Anything else you
Pulled
want
the
to say?
heart before.
How about
let's
your
see.
threads that you haven't released yet, and it's been 2 months, 3 months?
Hey, it's coming. It's coming. Actually, that reminds me. Chapter 4 of my fanfiction is going to be dropped in about an hour, actually. So
Oh,
be on the lookout for that. I've just got to finish spell checking, basically.
So
then I'm gonna-
the listeners understand. An hour means March 25th, hour from now. So because we're March 25th.
Well,
So when this gets posted, it'll probably be like the next week, or before April. So just so you know, by the time you listen to this, the chapter will be out.
well, I'll go into Nando's first, but after I get back, because I'm just gonna get some takeaway. But after I do that,
Cheeky
I'll finish spell
Nando's.
checking.
Cheeky Nando's.
Exactly.
Chicken
Gonna be
Nando's.
cheeky. I already know what I'm getting. Gonna get a half chicken. Gonna get some peri chips. It's gonna be great.
that's pretty good.
That sounds pretty good.
Sounds
Well,
very
I'm
cheeky.
still sick as shit. As yeah, I probably sound like I have a deep voice and more mature voice because of it. It's not my voice. That's just me sick. My Hero Academia season 1 recap is today. Check it out. It's a great series. It's Marvel mixed with the shonen cliche genre. Yeah, what I don't get is, and I'm sorry I'm not wrapping this up. My Hero Academia has a lot of cliches, but people love it. Fairy Tail has a lot of cliches, but people hate it, and I think it's just people circle jerking. Yeah, but whatever. But yeah, My Hero Academia starts this week and this weekend. So by the time you guys hear the podcast, it'll be out. Attack on Titan and the season 2 of My Hero Academia officially start next weekend, April 1st. It is not a prank. It is a real thing. April 1st also, huge day on the subreddit. Y'all might want to check it out.
Oh my gosh.
Someone doesn't know what's gonna happen. I think the only person that knows what's gonna happen is Doc. He's the brains of this operation. He's the one who makes it happen. Also, the Power Rangers movie. You guys should watch it.
Even if you've never watched Power Rangers.
The thing is, it reboots the series in a way where it gives you the mythology, but you become invested in these characters because you care about the leader of the group. You care about the Black Ranger, the Green Ranger, the Yellow Ranger, the Blue Ranger, the Pink Ranger. Because these characters of course, manage your expectations. Don't go in there expecting an Oscar level movie for like writing, because first of all, I'm gonna smack the shit out of you if you do. But if you have those managed expectations, realize that the characters get fleshed out. Each of the characters gets fleshed out enough where you care about them. This doesn't really matter to me. It's not breaking news, but there's a lot of headlines of it. There's an autistic character and there's an LGBT character. Everybody's making a big deal out of it. In the movie, they really don't. There's like a few lines about it, and then they like, like typical conversation, like, oh, okay, that's cool, live your dream, move on. It has, it's not really a spoiler. It has the original, sorry, it has the original opening song in the movie. It's fantastic, fucking fantastic. That shit. Just if you're a Power Ranger fan, just go for that shit. Cause that shit is amazing. If you're not a Power Ranger fan, it enriches the mythology. It gives you character-focused movie. A lot of reviewers are saying it's basic. A lot of YouTube reviewers are saying it's Breakfast Club meets the superhero genre. So it's not bad. The first 2 acts are with the characters, you learning more about them, you caring about them. The last act is the fighting and all the Power Ranger stuff. There's a lot of funny jokes in it. It starts off with a milking joke. Hilarious. I died laughing. Then there's a scene with nuns. That's all I'll say about that. And then there's a couple of Transformers jabs which are hilarious. I'm not even lying. Those are the funniest things in the movie. But yeah, check it out. As always, we're on Discord and just server find Fairy Tail. No space in between. Join us. Join the conversation. Okay. Adios.